So the J.M. Smucker Company just dropped their latest earnings report, and let me tell you, it's a wild ride. Buried inside all the numbers is this incredible story of massive success happening right next to a nearly billion-dollar failure. It's truly a tale of two companies living under one roof.
Now, on the surface, everything looked great. I mean, the company posted third-quarter revenue of $2.34 billion. That is a huge number, especially for a company most of us just think of for, jam.
And it wasn't just a big number, it was a beat. It was better than what all the Wall Street analysts were predicting. So the headlines made it look like Smucker's was just firing on all cylinders, absolutely crushing it.
But here's the twist. While they were celebrating these huge wins, they also had to come out and basically admit that a recent, massive investment had gone completely sideways. So what on earth is going on over there?
Well, it all comes down to this really surprising quarter where the big picture looked strong, but it was hiding some pretty serious problems just beneath the surface.
And the company's CEO, Mark Smucker, he put a very positive spin on it. And he wasn't wrong. He said the results did exceed expectations, and it was all driven by their iconic brands that people just keep buying. But it's which brands that tells the real story here.
So, where did all that good news come from? Turns out, it was almost entirely thanks to a couple of superstar performers that are pretty much carrying the whole company on their backs right now.
All right, let's meet these growth engines. We're talking about two brands that have just exploded in popularity and are absolutely flying off the shelves. First up, Uncrustables. You know them, the frozen sandwiches. They are an absolute juggernaut. Net sales shot up another 10% this quarter, and get this, the brand is on pace to be a $1 billion a year business all by itself. That's just a phenomenal success.
And then there's this. The coffee brand Caffè Bustelo saw its sales jump an unbelievable 46%. 46! It's a huge hit with younger consumers, and it's turned into another massive growth engine for Smucker's. So with stars like these, how could there possibly be a problem?
Well, this is where we get to the other side of the story. Because while those brands were soaring to new heights, another huge part of the business was in a total freefall. And that problem? It all stems from their recent, very expensive purchase of Hostess brands. Yep, Twinkies, Ding Dongs, the whole shebang. Smucker's created a new division for it called Sweet Baked Snacks, and honestly, the results have been a disaster.
You don't even need me for this one. The raw numbers tell the whole story. Just look at that line for sweet-baked snacks. While other parts of the company were doing fine, its sales plunged 19%. And its profit? It collapsed by a staggering 78% in just 1 year. That's not a stumble. That's a massive failure. The performance was so bad, in fact, that Smucker's was forced to take what's called an impairment charge. They had to officially write down the value of the Hostess deal by a combined $962 million.
So what does that actually mean in plain English? Okay, the best way to think about it is like this. Imagine you buy a house for $1 million. A year later, an appraiser comes by and says, "Sorry, this house is only worth $500,000 now." You have to officially recognize that $500,000 loss on your books. That is exactly what Smucker's just did with Hostess, to the tune of almost $1 billion.
So this creates this huge challenge, right? How do you even manage a company that's dealing with these two completely opposite stories, wild success and a massive struggle, at the exact same time?
This slide is the perfect way to visualize their balancing act. Think of the company like a sailboat. They are facing some serious headwinds, about $79 million in tariffs, higher costs for ingredients, and of course, the Hostess disaster. But then you have these incredibly powerful tailwinds pushing them forward. The strength of Uncrustables and Caffè Bustelo is kicking off enormous free cash flow. We're talking $487 million this quarter alone, and that's what's giving them the power to navigate the storm.
So what's the game plan? Well, first, they're getting aggressive, planning to pay down $500 million in debt every year. They're also trying to fix the Hostess mess by simplifying everything. They're cutting 25% of the products, and they're closing a plant to cut costs. And through it all, they're still trying to keep their shareholders happy with dividends. So when you really put it all together, you get this incredibly two-sided story. It's a company being pulled in two completely opposite directions at the very same time.
And the CEO basically admitted as much. He said the path to stabilization is taking longer than we expected. He's signaling that, yeah, they know they've got a problem with Hostess, but he's promising they're focused on turning it around. Eventually. And that's the key word there, right? Eventually.
So in the end, I think the best way to see Smucker's right now is like an athlete trying to run a race. They have a world-class superstar sprinter on one leg, that's Uncrustables and Café Bustelo. But chained to their other leg is a heavy, rusty anchor, and that's the Hostess acquisition. The big question this all leaves us with is, which one is going to determine how they finish this race?